All That Money Can Buy, also known as The Devil and Daniel Webster, is more than a Faustian morality tale set in the 19th century of New Hampshire. It's a cinematic fable that dramatizes the enduring struggle for the soul of America. Released on the eve of the United States entry into World War II, the film presents a richly symbolic contest between American idealism and the seductive forces of greed, power, and moral compromise. Through its stylized storytelling, mythic characters, and sharp cultural allegory, the film frames the battle between good and evil not only within one man's heart, but across the entirety of the American experiment. At its center is Jabez Stone, a struggling farmer who sells his soul to the devil, personified by the charming and sinister Mr. Scratch, in exchange for 7 years of prosperity. What follows is a transformation. Jabez becomes wealthy and powerful, but also cruel, corrupt, and alienated from his community. His decline is not just personal, but emblematic. It serves as a warning about the fragility of democratic and moral values in the face of unchecked materialism. This descent from humble integrity to hubristic exploitation mirrors anxieties about American capitalism and its corrosive effects on individual morality. In this sense, Jabez is a stand-in for America itself, a nation having struggled out of poverty and colonial subjugation, which now stands at the precipice of becoming a global power, but risks losing its soul in the process. The film situates this moral struggle within a specific cultural mythos. Daniel Webster, the real-life 19th century orator and statesman, becomes a near-divine figure, an embodiment of American righteousness, legal tradition, and populist values. He's not without flaws, but he represents the aspirational ideal of a nation governed by reason, justice, and compassion. When Jabez's soul comes up for collection, it is Webster who defends him in a supernatural trial, not only arguing for one man's redemption, but insisting on the capacity for the American spirit to renew itself. This trial is the film's dramatic and symbolic climax. The jury of the damned, made up of notorious American traitors and tyrants, represents the nation's dark history: slavery, treason, oppression, and genocide.
Foreign? Who calls me a foreigner?
I never heard of it done. I never heard of you claiming American citizenship.
And who has a better right? When the first wrong was done to the first Indian, I was there. The first slaver put out for the Congo, I stood on the deck. Am I not still spoken of in every church in New England?
In choosing to plead for Jabez before this jury, Webster does not ignore America's sins, but confronts them. He frames liberty as a continual striving, but not finished state. His speech insists that even those who have erred, like Jabez, or by extension America itself, can still be redeemed if they choose conscience over comfort and community over self-interest.
Scratch once told you that your soul meant nothing, and you believed it, and you lost your freedom. Freedom isn't just a big word. It is the morning and the bread and the risen sun. It was for freedom we came to these shores in boats and ships. It was a long journey, a hard one and a bitter one. Yes, there is sadness in being a man, but it is a proud thing, too. And out of the suffering and the starvation and the wrong and the right, a new thing has come. The free man. And when the whips of the oppressors are broken and their names forgotten and destroyed, free men will be talking and walking under a free star.
What makes the film powerful is its refusal to offer easy answers. While Mr. Scratch is unmistakably villainous, he's also disturbingly persuasive and only enables, never creates. He exploits real suffering and offers real relief, and preys on the desire for dignity in a world that seems indifferent to honest toil. His appeal is the same as demagogues and monopolists. He promises power in exchange for total submission, comfort in exchange for complicity. In this sense, All That Money Can Buy is a meditation on the seduction of authoritarianism and the moral cost of it. Scratch is not just the devil, he is capitalism untethered from ethics and populism corrupted by power. The American dream turned into a nightmare of excess. The director, a German immigrant who fled Nazism, imbues the film with the haunting expressionistic aesthetics of classical German cinema. The film's visual style deepens its themes, suggesting that the struggle between good and evil is not just a societal issue, but an ontological one, a question about the very nature of human existence and national destiny. Jabez's house, once warm and full of life, becomes a cold prison. His wife and son, once the heart of his world, are rendered voiceless and distant. The devil's influence seeps into every corner, until even the natural world seems to recoil. But Jabez is given an option to save his soul, give up his son. And in this is where his transformation takes place. He refuses, offering himself up in exchange for his son's continued happiness. This suggests that the only way we can escape this darkness is through love. Released during a moment of national uncertainty when fascism threatened global democracy and the Great Depression had exposed the failures of unregulated capitalism, All That Money Can Buy speaks to the fears and hopes of its era, but its allegory remains chillingly relevant. In every generation, America must again choose between the seductive shortcuts of Scratch and the hard-won principles of Webster. It must decide whether its soul is for sale, or whether, even at the last minute, it can be reclaimed. The film's final moments do not offer a triumphant conclusion, but a sober reminder. Liberty is not inherited, it is constantly defended and argued for, and earned anew by each citizen and in each generation. At the end of the film, Mr. Scratch looks through his notebook of possible people to deceive, and points and looks at the camera, implying that any of us can be deceived by Mr. Scratch, and any of us can fall under his power, but also implying that anyone can resist him, and anyone can be redeemed. In an age where economic anxiety and political polarization dominate the national mood, this film calls for a return to moral clarity. It reminds us that the real battle for America is not fought on the battlefields or ballot boxes alone, but in the hearts of the people. In the willingness to choose principle over profit, solidarity over selfishness, All That Money Can Buy is ultimately a call to moral action and a timeless warning.